Do we have to change our plans on taping Monday because Jared has one of his routes to win?
We'll just do it without him.
Does one of Jared's drivers win?
There's already a a contingency plan. There's already a plan in place.
He always works on that.
I'll be here unless Denny wins.
The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media.
Hey guys, welcome to Action's Detrimental Pre-Daytona 500 2025 season preview. Going to try to catch you up on all things that happened in this offseason that between the last time we aired. Well, we aired last week after the Clash, but try to catch you up over the last couple months of news and tidbits. There's been a lot of things certainly go on. A lot of moves, a lot of drivers going in different places, crew chiefs in different places, new teams, things like that, rule changes. This is the most text I've seen in our little shared note here.
And we didn't even race.
So where do y'all want to start today? The goal obviously is to try to catch you up on things and talk about the current events and really get you geared up for the Daytona 500 coming up this weekend. That's going to be on Fox.
Let's start with the most noteworthy event.
Okay.
And that was the Super Bowl last night.
Yeah. Last night, if you were checking out my stories, one of my good friends, Greg Fernelli, is a Chiefs fanatic. I don't think he's not as much of a fanatic as obviously Travis is to Ohio State. But Travis and Charlie did show up in support of someone whose home team was playing for a championship. Right?
We tried to support as long as we could.
It lasted about 6 minutes into the game. I mean, we knew right from the jump. It was just a mismatch.
I mean,
right?
I was trying to rationalize. All right, we get a touchdown here. We're good. And Denny's looking at me like
it's the start of every drive. We were saying, Greg, hey, look, we got a shot here. We go down, you score, you get it within a couple scores, and then next thing you know, it's the next drive. All right, we go down, we score, we get it within 3 scores, and then it just kept getting worse and worse.
We made wardrobe changes. We changed where we were sitting.
Yep, everyone got up, switched shirts, took their shirts off, moved around. Nothing helped that offensive line.
No. No, I thought the same thing watching. I was like, well, surely if Tom Brady brought his team back from down 24, Patrick Mahomes isn't out of it.
What did I say? I said, but they were going up against Atlanta's defense, not Philly's. Philly's defense just obviously way higher rated than what Atlanta's was.
Highlight is Greg gives us rousing little pep talk. They're down 10-0. He takes a shot at tequila. Gronk spikes it. Then they throw a pick six. It's 17-0. Taylor walks over to let everybody know that they've finalized their halftime performance. It's going to be 5 minutes. And Greg goes, oh, I'm thrilled.
Exactly. I mean, so whenever we have company over, Taylor always wants to know, are they going to bring their kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
entertainment for them.
They want more entertainment. So what happens is we all get together, we watch games or whatever it is, and then they go in the gym and then they work on a performance. And so
always.
Yeah, so because they like, hey, let me get my minute of attention here, right? So their performance actually pretty solid.
It was really good. There was an ad break.
Oh my God. Oh, I wish I could play it. Oh man, it's so good. So they did basically their own Eras tour of previous Super Bowl halftime shows. So they started in 2007.
Okay.
They did whoever was the performer, say it was Shakira.
Okay.
She did the song that she was doing. And then they would transition. I guess they did it on Instagram. They did a cap cut or something.
This is Taylor and Molly and Luco.
No, this is Taylor and Gigi, which is Greg's daughter. So they did a little cap cut, and they did a minute, maybe 30, 45 seconds of a song, and then transitioned it into, okay, here's 2009, and it was Beyonce, and then they went to 2013. Here is blah blah blah, and then they had Eminem. Then they had who else? I know I put you on the spot there.
Oh,
But
they had Rihanna.
Rihanna.
And
like,
Taylor even acted like she was pregnant.
yeah, she stuck a ball in her.
Like they took it serious.
They got all the details.
So then they transition, like as they were transitioning, as one was performing, okay, you had the other wardrobe changing, ready for the next song, and then they would just keep going back and forth.
And this was in place of the actual halftime show? Or this was just, Greg, we've seen enough. We're going to take over
it
this
was
drive.
Originally supposed to happen after the game, but Greg, the Fernelli family realized pretty quickly they were not going to stay for the entirety of the game.
Greg
says, all right, if you're going to do this performance, let's do it. Let's get out of here.
he goes, Gigi, if it goes like this, we're not staying for the whole game.
Yeah, we're not staying.
I mean, as a dad, you can't be mad at this, right? Your kids spent the first hour and a half of this football game in the most productive way possible.
That's what we were mentioning, is that, you know, we were moaning and groaning over, hey, we got to go downstairs and watch this performance, you know, in the middle of the third quarter, which by then it's blouses, but we did say, I forget who said it, said, yeah, but they were down there for the whole time not bothering us, so let's just
doing something like an activity, you know?
Well, that was an ass kicking. The Chiefs just got their teeth kicked in. It was one in the trenches by a mile. They actually stopped Saquon pretty well. But, man, their offensive line versus Eagles D was just not a close.
I don't think they blitzed all night.
It wasn't close.
And the secondary wasn't good either. I mean, they were getting big play after big play.
Essentially, when you think about it, Jalen Hurts won with his arm, right? I mean, it was not in the script, not what everyone was thinking. All right, well, that's our non-NASCAR segment. Let's talk about some cars going in circles. So we had some off-season. Let's go with the latest thing that came out with NASCAR. Zoom, fastest lap.
Fastest lap.
Xfinity, fastest lap. Xfinity, a great partner of 2311. You're going to see them on the race cars quite a bit this year. Thank them for coming aboard. So Xfinity, there will be a fastest lap now. I guess if you're a new fan or an old fan, this kind of maybe tickles your fancy for both of you. New school, like, you know, F1 has the fastest lap, although I think they are getting rid of that this year. If I'm not mistaken, or maybe next year, I'm not sure. They're going to reward one playoff point. Is that right? It's a playoff point.
Is it playoff point or is it just a point?
I think it's just a bonus point.
Oh.
Yeah, not a playoff point.
No, I don't think so. Because
a playoff point is steep.
Well, we better get our facts correct. Y'all might want to look this up quickly. Because I remember seeing a chart saying, oh, if you got 1 point.
Okay, the word playoff is not in this
we'll
article.
We'll earn one additional bonus point.
Yeah, the word playoff is not even in the article announcing the.
Because I saw a graphic and it was like, oh, if each person got one more point, here's where they would have finished in the regular season championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a regular season point.
Because it was a tie with the 5:45.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, now that you know this, and it's not a playoff point, is this point going to make all that much difference?
No, I mean, no, not in the grand scheme of things. When you have a big sample size like 26 races, it won't make a huge deal. But it's something. You can't.
I feel like it's just a better branding opportunity for Xfinity than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. They had the Xfinity fastest lap for like the last year or so. They would always kind of show the graphic. I would always see it. It'd be on my feed anyway. And so it's something that you knew that if you got the fastest lap, you got a cool kind of graphic on it. But yeah, there's something. I think there's something to it now. You can it's just added as maybe now a lot of these fastest laps will come at the very beginning of the race by whoever is on the front row. So those who don't know, don't watch lap times, rigorously through the race. That's a very small portion of us. The track is cleanest and coolest when the races start. So typically these fastest laps will come lap 2 to 3 of the actual race. Now, there'll be a few tracks where we'll race from the afternoon maybe into the evening, and there's a chance that the track could pick up speed during that time. But typically, the cleaner the track is, the cooler the track is, that's when you're going to have the opportunity. So you're going to have people on the front row, kind of battling probably for a couple laps there, trying to, not only get track position to lead the race, but to get the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, I guess for the most part, for the regular season, this probably isn't going to make all that much of a difference. But when it will come into play is when there's 5 races left and you're going into Martinsville, and there's a 3-point gap separating X driver and Y driver. And it's like, okay, he could finish 2 spots better than so-and-so, but he could also just run the fastest lap of the race and get an additional point that way.
Yeah, and I can't explain to you how difficult it is to run the fastest lap of the race while not in the lead. The leader just still has a tremendous advantage aerodynamically, and when you think about, I just talked about track heat. What happens is those front cars, they're laying down hot rubber, right? And the further you are back, the hotter the racetrack is. And then when you think about it, say there's after a restart 4 seconds or 5 seconds between first and last. The track then has time to cool from the very last car going across that strip of asphalt into turn 1. They've got another, if you're on a 1.5 miles, 30 seconds before the leader comes back around. So that track is cooling back off, and then it just accentuates how much faster the lead car is.
Now, this doesn't change anything for you guys, though, right? Because your teams are already monitoring the laps, and it goes into account for qualifying?
I mean, just qualifying, right? I mean, that's essentially what sets our starting.
Yeah.
Which then, yes, it does dictate your pit stall.
So like for you guys though, this really doesn't change any like how you operate going forward, or do you think it will?
No, this won't change how we operate. It just will be something that we monitor.
How often will the guy who qualifies on the pole also be the guy with the fastest lap?
Oh.
If the fastest lap's going to come at the beginning of the race and you're starting on the pole.
I'm thinking about it. The fastest lap coming from, how about this? Let me just throw out a prediction that's not fact-based whatsoever, is that whoever's on the front row will set the fastest lap 35% of the time.
Oh. That's not probable.
But it's way higher than, like, if you start 10th, for instance, that's where I qualify every week. I qualify 10th to 12th every week.
So Denny's getting 0 of these points, fans.
That's not true.
No, you would have gotten
5. I had 5 last year.
No, I don't know. I thought you would have gotten 3.
I got 5.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right.
Is that right? I
trying to
thought I
find-
saw
feel like
that
there was
Larson had 8. I was 5. Someone else was 5. Anyway, if you start 10th, I think your chances of getting the fastest lap in that given race is 5%. I mean, just you're going to need the stars to align, things like that.
Yeah. Just trying to pose this fastest lap as a way that fans can, track it. Like if your driver's on the pole, it's like, okay, well, my guy could be getting 1 additional bonus point tomorrow in the race. I'm excited about that.
But we already said it's not a bonus point. It's just
it's instead of scoring 34 points, you get 35.
It'd be exciting if you're going to, most likely a lot of times it's going to be decided in the first couple laps. I don't see it exciting. Like for F1, it's worked because late in the race, a team will then put new tires on and go for that.
So when we're talking about, just FYI, it's down on the list about no playoff changes. That's a way you can reward good cars throughout the year. Because if you look at the people that have had the most fastest laps, do you have the list? You'll get it. If you look at it, it's the guys that dominated the regular season. So it'd be a non-quirky way to reward guys that can run up front.
I believe Larson would have had 5 was the leader. You would have had 3.
Oh, shoot. You were right.
Along with Bell, SVG would have had 3.
Just the fact that you thought they were getting awarded playoff points makes me think that you would have liked to see the drivers be awarded playoff points with this.
Sure. It means you're up
Like
front.
a fastest lap is equivalent to a stage win.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, when we initially came out with stages and whatnot and rewarding points mid-race, I liked the idea because it was such a bummer. And again, people only compare our sports to other when it's convenient to their narrative, but it just feels like to me that we're in a sport that has so many variables that are out of your hand. If you continually run up front, you should be rewarded for that in some kind of way, because in our sport, at no time let's compare it to football, because this fits my narrative today, is that when you get up 35-0 in a football game, they don't reset the score with 2 minutes to go. In our sport, you can have a 35-second lead and a caution comes out, get wiped out in the green-white checkered, and before stages and points like that, it's like you were never there. It was like you were never there. You got nothing. You'd leave with a point or two, and it was like, no, we dominated the day. It's not, you can't just take my 35-0 lead, send me, reset it with 2 minutes to go, and then next thing you know, the opponents beat me 35-0. That doesn't seem fair, and it wasn't fair. So they fixed it by putting stages in, which also helped TV get their ads in. TV knew when they were getting breaks and things like that. So stages, the old school fans don't love stages, but I mean, we got a taste of what it's like at road courses without stages, right? It's a tough watch if it really gets strung out. Why do you think we're running the short course at COTA? The track is so big and gets so strung out. I mean, you better really love racing if you want to tune in and watch it, because it's not a great watch when they get strung out all over the track. Now, it's the purest way, but it's just, we have the crowd and the audience expects a little something different today.
Yeah. The fastest lap, what you're saying, just isn't a fluke. In order to run the fast lap,
It's
you
not
have
a
to
fluke.
be up front.
Right.
You got to
Now,
qualify well.
At a speedway, yes. At a speedway, yes, because the fastest lap will come from somebody running way behind the pack. Yeah, they'll try to get a run. I think during the Daytona 500, I think you will see people that are choosing not to race at that point, at some point of the race, go back to the back and try to get fastest lap. You'll keep accordioning back and forth. So, we used to do this a long time ago during practice when they were, kind of setting starting order and whatnot. You lay back from the pack, and at super speedways, usually the ones that are fastest usually are either in a long train of cars that are all committed to not passing each other, or you're at the back of the pack and you get a huge suck up to the draft, and then they'll tell you your lap time, and did I get fastest lap? No. And then, all right, you'll go back, you'll peel back another second and then try to get another run. So we've done it for a while, and it's a lot of it too is because, like you talked about, and I realize now that y'all were talking about the metric system of, when you go out to qualify. So yeah, fastest lap has always been a part of what we do. It clicked in my brain. It's like, oh yeah, because I was trying to figure out, why was I trying to run the fastest lap on speedways last year? I was like, oh, that's right, because it sets your metric for the next week's qualifying order.
Yep.
So,
which again could then set you up to run the fastest lap in the following race.
There you go. Yep, no doubt. All right. Well, that took a while in the Xfinity fastest lap, but hey, other ones are going to be much quicker. Influencing a race. Jared, can you kind of give us a summary of this?
Any member who attempts to improperly influence the outcome of the event or encourages, persuades, or induces others to do so shall be subject to penalties as outlined in sections 10, blah, 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 blah. Prohibited actions include but are not limited to intentional planning or conduct that prioritizes objectives other than achieving the best possible competitive result for their team.
Yeah, so what they're trying to do here is keep us from manipulating races, keep the manufacturers from manipulating the races. So
how is this any different than what we initially had?
Well, before there was kind of like 100% rule, or maybe that went away. I'm not really sure. No one ever got dinged for that I know of. Maybe Cole Custer, remember, at the Roval. I have no issues in this whatsoever. I think something needed to be done. Obviously, this goes beyond. I know it's easy to put the microscope on Martinsville as the big culprit, like it's where we saw it rear its head. But this goes on in other races as well, not just cutoff races, and it's been going on for years. I remember, not to call a specific team out, but a Bristol cutoff race where one of the competitors had an incident. Next thing you know, all of his teammates had mechanical failures. They're on pit road, like something's broke, or to try to get the positions back for their, like, this has been going on for quite some time, and it happens a lot during the playoffs. I think it will be hard to fully stop it, because teams still will just kind of get creative, and it will be hard to prove otherwise. But this certainly stops the logjam behind William Byron.
Right.
I
This
think-
rule is
I think it
targeted
stops that. Yeah,
at Martinsville, is it not?
it
at
is.
those types
it is,
of situations.
But I'm explaining that it's Martinsville wasn't the only. This has been going on for
It was
forever.
the straw that broke the camel's back.
Correct.
Right. But we joked on here midway through the season that you and BJ McLeod traded 25th and 26th with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Is this also directed at that, or is that like, who cares?
I would say no, because BJ McLeod and I have no alliance, allegiance, no orders, no nothing.
So the key word there is orders.
Correct. And that's, I just feel like this is, you premeditated, manipulated the finish. You talked about, if this happens, then we're going to do this as a team or a manufacturer or whatever, right? Don't pass this person at the end if we give you a code red or whatever. The BJ McLeod thing with me at Atlanta, I think it was, right? I was limping home to I just got in a wreck off turn 4. He sees me, like a 3-legged dog trying to get to the start-finish line. Right. He checks up and lets me go, right? Is that, he's not racing. He wasn't racing for points or anything. I think he was an open car still at the time. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, he was open last year.
He's open. What was it last year, though?
It was last year.
It was. So he had nothing to gain, right, other than a position. And he was paying me back for the mini super speedway races where I see buddy BJ up there, in trouble of losing the draft. He's at the back of the pack. His car's not quick enough to keep up with the pack. So I go back there and I help him keep up. I get behind him, push him back up to the pack. Or there was instances where he lost the lead in the green flag cycle. I push him back up there. There was a time I pushed him all the way to the lead at Talladega. And he's like, that is so big for me and my team and morale and like sponsors. Like, it's just, again, this is the deposits and withdrawals that you have with your competitors, that he recognized that, I deposited a few coins into the help you out friendship bank, and he saw an opportunity to put one in my bank in that instance where it really didn't affect him at all. So I don't think that that's what this is geared towards stopping. I think it's more the bigger teams and manufacturers having a say in the results.
Is it going to apply at super speedways? Is there going to be anything to that?
I guess that's the slippery slope. I would say no. Just simply because how in the world would you officiate it? We absolutely know that manufacturers play a role in who you draft with, who you don't. Teams play a role in who you draft with, who you don't. I hate all of it, just for the record. I'd rather use anybody and everybody to my advantage. Dale Jr. and Dale Earnhardt would have never survived in today's superspeedway racing. Wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have been as successful because of how superspeedway racing happens today. But then to be told who you can and can't draft with, like, it's nonsense. But it's the world we live in.
I think also NASCAR's probably okay with this at the beginning of the race, where in a superspeedway where you're sticking with the Toyotas or whatever, because at the end of the race, you're not doing the same stuff. And I think that's the big thing, is at the end, they need you to race and go out there for the win and not just dilly-dally around to help out.
They're, I appreciate what they're trying to do, and that is keep the integrity of the sport. We had this thing, the old dam of legitimacy with NASCAR, right? And it's got a lot of cracks in it, and we're just trying to stop the water from flowing here, right? And so I think this is, they had seen too much from Martinsville and said, it's getting out of control now.
And you have got gambling bigger than it's ever been. And so that's a big factor for the sport.
That's a big factor. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have, more than likely, the Gaming Commission calling up NASCAR saying, what the hell? Like, you mean you guys can dictate who finishes where? Well, we're not going to set lines for you guys. This is horrible.
Yeah, because some books, they pay out unofficial, some pay out official, some pay out both. And so it's the books that had to pay out Bell getting in and not getting in had to suck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never realized that when it came to sports betting, that there's someone who is watching over all these sports and is not happy if, there's any rumors that, the finish was manipulated.
Right. Yeah. You're when you bet on NASCAR, you're, as a consumer, you're hoping that you get the same integrity that you get in the NFL. Now,
the person paying out these bets.
Yeah. But it's also the people probably making the lines, or the computer. They're basing it off of what a normal played out finish would be,
numbers,
and what they think. It's just numbers. But if they know that people within it can skew that slightly, that it's probably not a good thing for business for any side, right? No side.
Some changes to DVP this year. Damaged vehicle policy for the Cup Series starting this season, adjusting the rule that damaged cars that are either driven or towed to the garage will be out of the race starting in 2025. Cars will be permitted to continue in the race after repairs in the garage. Officials will continue to maintain a 7-minute time limit, 8 minutes for Atlanta. For repairs made on pit road, any repairs exceeding 7 minutes must be made in the garage where no clock is kept. Teams will then be penalized if the car leaves the pit box and rejoins the race if the DVP has expired before reaching pit exit.
Okay, so if you kept up with all that, the basic change is that you can go back to the garage now, take as long as you want to get your car fixed. So before, when you got towed to your pit stall, you didn't get towed to your pit stall, or you did. We changed that in the middle of the playoffs, didn't we? I'm in the sport and I couldn't even keep up with it. You either did or did not get towed to your pit stall. They gave you 5-7 minutes. I don't even know that.
But if you got towed to your pit stall, you could still continue. But if they towed you to
the garage, Blaney was towed to the garage at Watkins Glen. Race was over.
Right. That's right. And they're saying we can take you to the garage, and you can have as long as you want to fix it, but you got one shot when you go back out there to make minimum speed. Then you can keep going. So when you think about it generally, let's not knee-jerk too much. That doesn't change a whole lot when it comes to the finish, right? Because if you go to the garage, you spend more than 7 minutes, you go back to the race, you're going to be so many laps down. It's not going to be a huge deal, folks. That's just not going to be big. Where this does change things, I guess, is that they're saying they're willing to tow you to your pit stall. Okay, so I think they weren't towing you to your pit stall until after
that Blaney situation happened.
No, Talladega. Remember they
pulled guys into the infield.
Didn't they take
Josh
Chase
Berry?
Elliott? No, it was Chase Elliott. They brought to his pit stall.
Right, there was a huge mess. Some guys went to the pit stall. Some guys got towed to the infield.
I know, but they changed because everyone was uproar over, hey, they took them.
Right.
I forget I think it was Talladega where they took Chase all the way to his stall, and people were like, "What the hell?" So anyway, they say they will do that now for everyone. Now, the only kink in this is that it still is going to matter when you get towed. So if there is a multi-car accident where there's more cars wrecked than tow trucks, the order in which you get towed will definitely matter.
Right. And that's not changing. They are going to just tow based on
where
whatever
they drive up to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I would make friends with the tow truck people. Yeah. When you're doing your driver intro and you're going around you always have the safety vehicles. They have their crews outside of wherever they're positioned. So say they're on the inside the wall of turn 2 and turn 3 and turn 4. So all the safety crews come out and give us a wave as we're doing our driver intros. You got to give them the old tip of the hat. Say, get me first.
It's some $20 handshakes or something.
Yeah.
Get me first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These guys are starting to get tips this year.
that's right.
Waivers. If competition officials grant a waiver for playoff eligibility, in some circumstances that driver will forfeit playoff points in the regular season. Driver then would start with, there's a lot of words here, but
Okay.
if you're granted a waiver, you are losing your playoff points.
Non-medical.
Non-medical.
If
And
you choose to race in another, let's just sum it
It's
up.
the Kyle Larson
If
rule.
you
It's Kyle
choose to
Larson rule.
race in another series or whatever, or miss for a reason not listed, then you will forfeit your playoff points that you've earned up until that point. Correct? Because I think maybe Bob Procris cleared up that clarification, or someone did, that maybe it was Gluck, that you can then restart your bid to reset, to get more points. So if this happens in race 5 and you've lost no playoff points, then you really ain't lost anything, right? And then you can go on a march to try to get some playoff points from that point on. So you forfeit anything you've accumulated up until that point.
Yep. But as Travis said, a medical absence, missing a race for the birth of a child could come into play for you this year. Family emergency, none of which would bring the waiver into play.
Right.
What about so Chase Elliott famously got suspended for right hooking you. Do you think that this rule will deter drivers from doing something like that, knowing the suspension?
Yes. Yeah, I think it very much will play a role in whether you decide to retaliate intentionally.
So if you get suspended by NASCAR for a race, you would then need a waiver and potentially forfeit.
Well, you'll need a waiver. You'll get a waiver,
Right.
but you're going to lose any playoff points that you had accumulated.
Okay, so that's new then. This is part of
this is new.
now getting suspended by NASCAR. You will lose your playoff points.
Yeah, because I think the argument is that it's just a vacation. At that point, you're Chase Elliott, trust me, wanted to be at the next race. It was the middle of summer, but he got a week's vacation, right? He didn't get to race, and he really didn't lose anything other than how many points he would have accumulated on the next week. Here now they're saying that you're going to have to lose all your points and start over again.
Yeah, which is significant. A suspension has occurred now in 2 of the last 3 years. Bubba was suspended.
Yeah,
I guess that was in the playoffs at the end of the season, but
yeah. If this was a thing, is this a thing in the other series? Because I feel like, but the difference is in like the trucks and Xfinity, the intentional wrecks happen. I feel like a lot more, like the right rear hooking thing, but I'd say it's usually not drivers that got a bunch of points.
right.
It's usually the guys in the back that are fighting and clawing for 20th that are pissed off at each other. To me, will it play a factor? Likely not, but it will definitely put a seed in your mind of you better check yourself.
Yep.
And when you have those split second reactions, it's not beneficial. You got to learn to take a breath and think about it.
No changes to the playoffs. That's a
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that, but I I guess I understand it. They'd rather just, if they're going to do something, make a real change and then make it when they have more time or input. Obviously, their offseason probably was really filled with trying to deal with all these other rule changes. I mean, when they came out with this plethora of rule changes on this one specific day, I mean, they didn't just dream it up that week, right? They've been working on this for some time. More than likely, they want to spend this season really diving into what do we change for the 2026 playoffs. And I am confident they will change something for the 2026 playoffs.
Yeah, I like their explanation that they didn't want to get into the habit of making small tweaks to the playoffs.
Yeah.
What's the one change, if you could, to the playoffs that you would make? Or hope they make?
I think you should double all the playoff points. If I just
Double the playoff points.
just double everything.
What does that mean? What?
So instead of Kyle Larson going into the playoffs with 45 bonus points, he's got 90. I don't know. He earned it.
How does that change the?
Because someone that just squeaks in to the now, listen, I'm talking about kind of crowning a change. There's many changes, many changes. I would.
This
love
is the first
to
time
see.
you're mentioning this. Double the playoff points.
I'm just saying, when it comes to how are you going to start the playoffs, right? We talked about this with Letarte. I said double all the playoff points, and then run it 10 races out.
Okay, so that's a bigger change than doubling the playoff points. It's just run 10 races.
Yeah. We're not going to – I don't think we're going to get rid of the elimination. I think that's probably here to stay. But do you reward the win and you're in?
I think that's not leaving either. I think the closest thing you could get to a playoff change is that maybe you'll get a 3-race
I would love that.
championship round.
Absolutely.
They're
It
definitely
deserves
not
it.
getting
I
rid of the
believe
win.
the championship deserves a round. One race. It's got to be the small sample size of all sports.
Yep. You could sell
has
NASCAR
to
on
be.
that. You can then market 3 races as.
And don't tell me the
championship.
Super Bowl's one event. It's 1 versus 1, not 1 versus 36 in the Super Bowl. So I think, yes, the championship deserves its own round. If I had to play it perfectly in my mind, it'd be 12 drivers, 3 races, 3 races, 3 races, 3 races. You know what I mean? So I think I would double the playoff points. Entering the playoffs. Well, I'm just saying I think all the playoff points that you acquire during the regular season should be doubled, just simply because it will really reward those that have excellence throughout the entire season. I think if you lowered the playoff field to 12, it would stop the 29th place car from making the playoffs because they won a race, well, let's just say maybe on fuel mileage, or that's not pointed at anyone. I'm just saying, I'm trying not to say because you won a super speedway race. You know what I mean? I think that it really forces you to be on your game the entire season. And what I'm really fighting for in this is that make the regular season great again, in the sense of, like, make it matter, because for the last 3 years, the regular season had no bearing. The champion did very unimpressive things during the regular season. So why would you tune in? If it's proven 3 years in a row, you don't have to be good during the regular season. You can just
You can be
just
okay.
get in.
You can be
Just
okay.
get in. You can just be average at best. That's been the formula that's won it. Just get hot the last couple races and you're fine. That's not. I don't think that's the right way to crown a champion in a sport where there's so many variables.
Isn't it synonymous, though, with other sports? Like, you want to compare it to other sports when it fits your narrative. Can't a team get into the playoffs with a 9-7 record? That would be an okay regular season. And then be good for 4 weeks and win the championship?
So there was some 9-7 teams that didn't make the playoffs this year. Okay, and 9-7 means you have a winning record.
Okay,
You're
getting into the playoffs with a winning season.
When it's happened, though, they've won their division. They were the best
That was
team.
about what I was about to say. Yeah, but they beat everyone else in their division. They played against them, and they beat them.
Sure.
So just because their record is not 12-4, it doesn't matter. They beat the teams in their division, so they won. They have a winning record. You're not seeing 7-9 teams make the playoffs.
I mean, you have, but
We have, but then in those 7 games, they beat the teams in their division, right? And
I'm just saying teams can get into the playoffs having an okay season. If you get into the playoffs with a 9-7 record, that's an okay season.
Correct. But when they went head to head, right, with the 14-2 team, right, they beat them on that particular day.
Right.
But they beat them 1-on-1. They didn't beat them because they made it on fuel mileage, and the guys that led 99% of the race didn't make it.
Right.
Like,
I'm just saying. I don't think.
I'm saying our sport in general has so many variables. You got to make the sample size bigger and better to crown what, in my opinion, would be your best driver and team that year. I think that's what we're just trying to do. Crown the best driver and team over the year.
I agree.
Like, how can you argue that the 5 team was not the best driver and team in 2025 or 2024, right? He didn't even make the Final Four. That shows a flawed system. I don't care how you break it up. Right. That's a flawed system.
So you just got 2 things you got to fix. You got to make it so the best
Kevin Harvick
drivers
10
through
races
the regular season
didn't make the Final Four.
are more like
2020. Huh?
Right. You have to make it so the guys who are good in the regular season have a better chance of making
Absolutely.
the Final Four, but then also you got to
give them
create
a bigger
larger
buffer.
sample size for the Final Four itself.
There you go. You got it. You summed up what I wish would happen.
Because if you just double playoff points, Joey Logano can still make the Final Four and win that single race.
Yes.
Less likely, but still possible.
He would have to do what he did, right? Which is win. He won in every round. He won in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
He
did not win in the second round.
No. He won in the second. No, he didn't.
He got in because Bowman.
And he was out. But then Bowman's weight issue got him back in.
And then he won.
Yep. It just, I think he played it perfect. And then truly when it counted at Phoenix, he was the best. I don't care what metric you look at. He did the best on that final restart. Him and the 12 were the fastest 2 cars on that day. And he outdrove him in that last sequence. And so he won the championship. So that was very deserving because they knew the system, they played the system, and he performed in the moment that mattered on the restart that mattered at Phoenix. Right? But I'm saying give the guys that showed you continued excellence for the first 26 races a bigger buffer to get them along. Because crazy things can happen. We have mechanical failures. Like as a quarterback, you're the head of a team. You don't just say, "Oh, my shoelace broke. I'm out of the game."
Right. I mean, we could have this
You know what I mean?
It just doesn't seem like there's an easy way to do that. You double playoff points, but then you're taking so many drivers out of the equation of the playoffs. You might as well just make the playoffs only 8 drivers, because if you're doubling the playoff points,
That's
and
why
Kyle
I said
Larson
to go to 12. That's why I said 12. 12. I want 12 drivers. 16. We needed that a long time ago when the sponsors and the teams were the one bitching and complaining about how many drivers were in the playoffs. Oh, we should be part of the playoffs. Like our sponsors really, they wanted to be, shown.
Right.
And so NASCAR gave in to them and says, all right, we'll expand the field. So that's just my point. Let's recap it. We're going to have 12 drivers. We're going to double all the playoff points that you get during the regular season. We're going to eliminate 3, and we're going to have 4 racing in a 3-race championship playoff, correct? That's basically what we're saying.
So that's what you're saying.
I've heard a dirty rumor, and someone from NASCAR said it, that maybe we expand the championship race to 5 drivers. Like, no, you're going the wrong direction. Please don't do that. You're just watering this down more. Stop making it easier. Make it harder. Make it harder to get to you got to build the prestige of the people. Don't keep opening it up to more places, more spots, more opportunity. No. You got to make it special.
Even if that would have let you get into the championship 5 now? Then?
No, stop it. Let's not even
think about it.
Let's not even support that narrative. Let's just say that's a terrible idea and you're going the wrong way.
Even when you compare it to
Less,
other sports,
not
if
more.
you created a 3-race championship final, how's that any different than a 7-game series? If a driver wins the championship after race 2,
think about that.
You never need a game
think
5
about
or
that
6.
Is that you're saying that a 7-game series, hockey has a 5-game series, right? Like they play.
No, they go 7 in hockey.
Okay, 1 versus 1 7 times to decide the champ.
right? To take out
We have to
the
battle
variables.
1 versus 36 one time. Like that is ludicrous.
Right. The other sports are actively taking out any possible variables.
Correct. And so that's why we had 10 races back in the day. That was our 10-race series.
Yeah.
Because there was enough races to where if the baddest driver in the world, Jimmy Johnson, which he did it many times, he stubbed his toe 1 or 2 races in that 10 races, he could still go win 6 and be the champ because he deserved it. He was the best.
Yep.
Right?
One other rule change, and this will segue into Daytona, is the Open Exemption Provisional. Pretty much what this means is if there's a noteworthy driver outside of NASCAR that wants to race in the Daytona 500, they will give them the Open Provisional, like Helio Castroneves, but they will not necessarily need to race their way in. However, if they are given the Provisional, they will not be awarded money from the race and or points, but they're probably not racing for points anyway.
I mean, you heard my opinion on this in the media center, and I actually got, I got a lot of flack from, I think Larry McReynolds on this, on Sirius. I think he was fair to me. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that is, I get asked a question from a reporter. What is your opinion of this? And so at that point, I have to decide, and it's the same thing. Damn, that's loud. It's the same thing that we're doing in here, right? I get paid to come in here and give my opinion on certain topics.
Right.
And you don't have to agree with them, but I guarantee you're going to get my authentic truth. And it's my authentic truth. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but it's what I'm being told to do. And it's what our NASCAR fans have asked NASCAR drivers to do. Be authentic. Show yourself. Give your opinion. We want to know.
Yeah,
right?
you can't get mad at.
But
You get mad at a driver that doesn't say anything, and they get mad at you.
When
You
Larry
can't.
was getting mad on me going in there, what did you want me to do then? Just sit there and say, no, I didn't like it. They're gonna say, why? What about it don't you like? And then what do I do? Do I just make up something so it makes it sound better? No, I'm gonna give you my true and authentic opinion, and then it's up for you guys to debate whether that opinion is right or wrong, right? And so I hope fans and other media members understand I'm just doing my job and I'm just being true and authentic to myself when I give opinions on certain things. And my opinion on this was that it was desperate. I didn't like it. I just thought that you're really, doing everything you can to try to get a headline. And I still believe it to be true. I do. NASCAR is the highest form of motorsports in the U.S. So why can't we act like the big boys and say, if you want to come over here and run with us, show me what you got. Go qualify in the race.
Right. I also think
it won't be that hard. And to me, as a car owner, we just talked about these playoff scenarios in which, things can happen. things out of your control can happen. I was one David Starr brake rotor away from winning a championship in Phoenix one year. But that's the brakes, right? So I'm wondering if David Starr had to, say there was more than, let's just pretend and this is not a knock on David Starr. This is an equipment problem, not a David Starr problem. His equipment broke. He was in a car that was not fit to make it all 312 laps, okay? Let's just say, because there's been 40 cars in the last Phoenix race, David Starr was Elio, right? And he got in, and he played a factor in who won the race that day because of his name. He got in, and maybe he didn't blow a brake rotor. He went in there, and on a restart, he made a mistake, and he wiped out one of the contenders. The old rule, he wouldn't have even been in the race because he didn't qualify into the race. Now you're just saying Tom Cruise can go in there and just because he says he raced in Days of Thunder can come in there and can compete on Sunday with the big boys. I don't agree with that, and that's just my opinion on it.
It also limits the storyline. Yes, you're granting a storyline that so-and-so driver will be in the Daytona 500 no matter what, but you're limiting that storyline because I don't think I've ever seen a guy more over the moon about qualifying for the Daytona 500 than Travis Pastrana last year. Like, he was genuinely excited because it was not a given that he was going to go down there and race in the Great American Race. It was not a given.
So after the duel, you think Castro Neves is going to be jumping for joy after the race? No, he will not be.
He already knows he's in the race.
He knows he's in the race. That's right.
Yeah, you don't see Indy 500 saying, "Here, Kyle Larson, have your spot." He had to go make it.
That's the normal protocol in professional sports. We're one of the few sports where if you got enough cash, you can go to the top. This is not an indictment on him whatsoever. I hate that he's getting the brunt of this because he had no role in it whatsoever. I love him and his attitude. I hope some of his avid fans come watch the Daytona 500 because you wouldn't have otherwise. That's what this is trying to do, right? Is maybe you get some new eyeballs that follow this person to come in, and you're going to tune in to see how they do, and maybe you can keep them latched on for a longer period. That's what this is aimed to do. I understand that. I just think you put a crack in the dam of legitimacy. I just believe it. I believe it does.
Yeah, I think there's more to gain from having these superstars come into the 500 and try to qualify their way in naturally. Because like you said, for the most part of the time, they're probably going to do it. They're going to come to the Daytona 500 with a great car, right, with a great team. They're going to run a fast lap. The chances of them getting in are pretty good. They don't need to.
Yeah, this year is going to be tougher.
It's going to be tough. But for the most part, they've got a pretty good chance.
I agree, but it was, I think we're going to have a compelling qualifying duels, whatever, this year anyway.
Absolutely.
But it certainly would have added to it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But listen, we can't back the ship up, right? It is what it is, and I think it hopefully will only come into play in the 500, and after that it's a moot point, right? I think we're probably making more of it than it actually is, but it will be a big deal, to somebody for sure.
Right. All right. Here's our stacked lineup of open cars competing for 2 spots in the Daytona 500. We've got Castro Neves. We already mentioned that. He will be the exemption, so he is in no matter what. Then the remaining of these drivers are competing for 2 spots. Martin Truex Jr.
Where are you looking at this? Is it on your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Martin Truex Jr., Justin Allgaier, J.J. Yaley, B.J. McLeod, Chandler Smith, Anthony Alfredo, Corey LaJoie, and Jimmy Johnson.
Okay. So, because it is a super speedway and all kinds of things that can happen, I think 1 or 2 of the big names don't make it. And I think 1 or 2 underdogs does make it. when I include the underdog, I wish I had this list.
It's on the top of our note.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So when I say it's really, really tough to predict, I'll throw out a prediction, but I'm going to say Castro Neves does not risk his race car trying to race hard in a duel. I think that's silly. That's probably a bad financial decision. So I don't think he's going to race hard at all. He's going to be locked in. Okay, we know that. Would he have made it on speed? Not sure. All right, so I'll go with my underdog taking a spot from a big dog as Alfredo. Is he in the 62?
He is. Beard Motorsports.
What's JJ in?
The 44 New York Racing. Is it 44?
It's easy to count him out, or the team not having enough speed. But like they damn near did it last year. Remember it was the last lap pass.
Him and Johnson, right?
Jimmy. Yeah. I mean, if you're going just straight chalk, right? I mean, you're going to say, based off of the fastest 4 cars, I think Corey LaJoie and Rick Ware, just simply because of, I think the Fords are obviously fast on the speedways. Truex, Allgaier, JJ. Although Toyota's suspected best at been in qualifying. That's just the biggest 4 names, teams that are going to make it. But I just have a feeling that on speed, we're going Allgaier, and I'm going to switch. Allgaier and Truex. And then who races their way in is Alfredo and Corey LaJoie. That's my final answer.
I think that's a solid prediction.
2 solid in, 2 lower teams out. Okay? All right. New, faces, places, what do we expect? You got a list here for me.
Let's start with 2311, your driver, new driver.
Riley Herbst's coming in. We're bringing in his Xfinity crew chief. They got great chemistry together. They didn't make the main in the clash. They had a mechanical failure. That kind of is on us. But I really feel confident that Riley will outperform expectations this year. I think he's very hungry. I think he's very focused and very underrated in the talent side of things. So I'm expecting good things from him. I'm very, very careful with expectations. But I think he's going to be a person that will contend inside the top 20 on most weeks.
Do you have expectations, or is this a guy where your expectation is to see growth from race 1 to race 36?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's growth, right? I mean, my expectations of Tyler, of Bubba, they change year after year after year because I expect them to keep getting better.
Right.
The minute you see a plateau, then it's all right, well, how far can they really take us, right? And so I've seen everything I need to see as far as growth from those 2 so far. And so for Riley, you have to be realistic with the expectations of a rookie coming in, new team, and I just feel as though I believe he's going to continue to get better and better as the year goes on, and my expectation is what I've said before.
Right. But your expectations for Bubba and Tyler are to make the playoffs and then advance in the playoffs.
That's right.
I can't imagine your expectations for Riley are to make the playoffs. Therefore, statistically,
expectation to make it, I think that would be very lofty. I think that it's hard. It's hard and it's tough out there, but it's, as a rookie, he's just going to be up against it when it comes to, we've all got those who are not rookies have 3 or 4 years of next gen experience now and know what makes these cars run fast at each particular racetrack. And he's going to be learning that week after week. I can't emphasize how much an advantage having experience and knowing how to make speed at next gen on certain tracks will matter versus a rookie. It will definitely play a factor.
Yeah. Do you want to see him finish in the top 20 of owner points, top 25? Doesn't matter.
There's just not one number I'm looking at and saying it's a success or failure.
Right.
Like, show me that you're capable first, which we believe he is. That's why we hired him. and then see a progression of speed and performance and results being the big one throughout the year.
You have a new teammate in the 19 car, Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, I think Chase will be good. I certainly think that he's going with a really solid team, and James Small there. I think just a fantastic team, and I think they're going to be obviously playoff guys that can go as deep as they want. I mean, there's certainly, I don't think anything holding Chase or that team back from being a Final Four contender.
AJ Allmendinger returns to the 16, and Ty Dillon will drive the 10 car.
Yeah, I think that AJ could be kind of a backdoor playoff team driver. Like, one of these races that SVG or, there's been other cars, normal, your William Byron, your Kyle Larsons that are good on the road courses. There'll be a race where they kind of stub their toes, and I think AJ is solid enough that he always knows how to get himself in position at road courses, that he could sneak in and get a road course win and put that team in the playoffs.
Wood Brothers, Josh.
It's possible. I'm not saying it's probable. It's possible.
Josh Berry driving the 21 car for the Wood Brothers.
I think I like Josh.
This was a playoff team last year.
I know. I understand. I only worry because I don't know the specifics, but it just feels like to me, right, that it's a development Penske team, right? So when they're developing mechanics, they're developing pit crew members, they're developing crew chiefs, they're developing engineers, and you start on the 21, and then you work your way into a house car. So if you, and I don't know this is fact, so please, if you're on the team, don't take this the wrong way. I don't know that, do they have all the pieces to be like legit contenders? I don't know, right? I mean, surely if you're within the Penske organization, you're going to be very competent and capable, but it's more than likely you're probably have either been with a team for a really, really long time, or you're just now starting and you're getting developed. Now, this goes with pit crew members as well. Like, are they? I've never seen on a statistic that the 21 pit crew has been really fast at any point, but they eventually transition a few of the members onto the house cars. So is this a development team, straight development team for Penske? I don't know, which makes me apprehensive to give them a high expectation.
Right. I was saying the playoff team a bit facetiously, right, because they made the playoffs on Harrison Burton's Daytona win. So
I get it. I wasn't going to jump on the...
He didn't take the bait.
I didn't
he
take
didn't
it.
take
I
the bait,
did.
no.
Yeah.
Noah Gragson driving the 4 car for front row, as well as Zane Smith in the 38 car.
Just real quick, I think front row's got an excellent young stable of drivers. I believe in their future and certainly think that they've got a fantastic lineup of drivers there. But can they contend inside the top 5, top 10 regularly? They're going to have to step up their performance a little bit more than what I've seen so far.
This is interesting that all these guys,
which is possible, by the way. They have, I think they have a new investment from Bob Jenkins. They're part of this Penske alliance. I think they switched it from RFK to Penske last year. So does another year of that relationship start to show fruit? Certainly their driver lineup I'm impressed with.
I don't know how the inner workings of teams go, drivers working together, but I think it's interesting that their drivers all grew up together. Zane grew up with Noah. Like, they all came up through the ranks together, all the relatively the same age. That dynamic is interesting.
It is. Haas in the 41 car.
Cole Custer.
Give your opinion.
I don't know. The expectations can't be higher than what SHR was last year.
There, yeah, you nailed it there. Yeah, I agree. Let's just pretend that it was everyone from SHR was still there, and it's just one single SHR car now. Is your expectation really for them to make the playoffs? Probably not, even if it was straight.
It may be.
I mean,
if it was like a
you still
all-star
have-
cast,
Right, there you go.
that would be cool, but it's
Yeah.
not.
It's probably not. However, there's probably some pretty loyal people that have worked for Tony and Gene that stayed on there with Joe Custer and said, we're going to help support Cole here. I just the only issue I see is kind of they're not doing it on their own. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, they have an alliance now, right? So they're going to get secondhand information from, I think it's RFK. So, again, I kind of temper expectations a little bit. I got one for you. Who runs better, 21 or 41? Yeah, that's one of the things. I like
21.
doing a little matchup here. 21 or 41?
I would put my money on the 21.
It's close, but I'm gonna go 21.
Are you given the edge? Here's the question though. Now, are you given the edge
Just
to
simply because that's an
ability,
in-house. It's an in-house car from Penske, where I just think that the Haas team is a little bit on an island.
Okay,
right,
so you think
right
the
now.
equipment for the 21 is just going to be a little bit better than the
Little
equipment
bit.
for the 41?
A little bit, yeah. Okay, who runs better, the 4 or 38?
Ooh, that's tough.
And that's Noah versus Zane, right?
Yep.
I say Zane.
Zane by a hair.
That's a good
Zane
over
Byer.
under.
Does Todd Gillen outperform all of them?
Based on his numbers last year, I would say yes.
I'd say so too. Just a little bit. It's close. That 3-team that might be the closest 3-team. Like, who's gonna be the best be the lead dog at the team? That would be fun to watch.
Right.
I like this game of like who we think's gonna be better. All right, Cody, we're in the 51 car. Nothing really new there. This was talked about to be Corey LaJoie's car. I know this episode's running long, but
you're good.
This is what we had to, we're trying to give the people some, I don't know what y'all are doing, like, whether you're placing bets with your friends or whatnot, we're trying to give you some insight here. Cody Ware in the 51, the guy averaged like a 22nd place finish at the end of last year. He ran better than people expected, and I was pretty impressed personally with how he ran in the last half of the season. So I expect probably they'll run the same, maybe the same ish.
Here's a Cody Ware stat from our Tampa Temps. And 4 Daytona Next Gen starts, Cody Ware's averaged 10.3 and never finished worse than 17th.
Yeah. I mean,
so he just finds a way to.
Yeah, a lot of it is you choose to run at the back, and so you're never going to win the race doing that. Not in the next gen era anyway, but it allows you to get a good finish.
It's pretty cool. That's a cool stat though, because you've adopted his strategy here of late. Hasn't worked out, but you've tried.
Thanks. Moving on. Michael McDowell in the 71. I think a lot of people have high expectations of this.
I think people have high expectations of Spire in general.
Okay. I got one for you. Michael McDowell or the best running front row car?
McDowell.
I'll take the best running front row car.
I'll take the odds.
I'll take the best running.
Yeah, I guess
not
you
on
get,
any
you get
given
3
day.
cars
I'm
out
just
of this.
as friends. We say, okay, you take this, I'll take that. When it comes to the end of the year,
Yep.
I'll take the best front row car over McDowell in the 71. That's my prediction. It doesn't mean McDowell's not going to go out there and win a race. Maybe the best front row car does as well, but that's just I think it's going to be close. But I don't see this move for McDowell. I think he did it for the right reasons for himself, which he absolutely should have. He got offered more stability, probably more money. I think it's a lateral move, but as far as performance in the short term, I think he's probably thinking, and which would be a correct thing to think, that Spire's on the rise, so I'm gonna bank on them in the long term.
But
which is probably the right thing to think.
Does having Rodney Childers in the building for Spire elevate the 71 car?
You like to think so, but I heard an interview with Rodney Childers on Sirius, and he said he just keeps to himself. They asked him, they said, so how are you getting along with other crew chiefs and all this other stuff? He's like, yeah, I'll answer a question if they got one, but I just keep to myself. I worry about my own team. I was like, ooh, all right, interesting. So you like to think so, that more than likely whatever one person finds that is good for them, that everyone's going to see it. So certainly have a talent like Childers in the building. It's never a bad thing.
Ryan Preece in the 60 car for RFK.
I have no idea what to expect here. That was my one. If I had to put a star next to a driver and say, what am I going to get? This one's going to be hard to predict. Just simply because is this a better situation than what he had at SHR, yes or no? Anyone else have an opinion on that?
Yes.
You say yes.
I would say yes.
Why?
Just based on that RFK has won races in the past few years.
And what Brad's built there.
Yeah,
all right.
they're on the rise.
I got you. You're convincing me. Okay. So what you guys are saying then is that RFK was slightly better speed, execution, whatever it is, better than SHR over the last 2 years. RFK has been better.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I believe it. Okay. You convinced me then. I saw it as like, man, I don't know. Is it? But I guess I see your point, right? I mean, the 17 car won a race last year, could have won multiple. The 6 won a race, probably could have won multiple. Yeah, I see your point. So what's Ryan Preece going to do? Is he going to perform better? Okay. Is he going to perform better or worse than the 6 and the 17?
Oh, not better.
No, yeah, zero chance.
Not better. But it'll be interesting to see if he can put himself in the same ballpark as those guys. I think those two drivers.
So I think he runs good, but does he run significantly better than he did last year? I don't know about that. You are, listen, I can attest from my standpoint on, when you start a new team, right? You're getting different people. They're all meshing together.
Preece finished 26th.
In points last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it being a little better than that.
I think it has to be better than that because your teammates have already proven.
Let's
that
just
they're
say
a
that
threat
that's
too.
our prediction. He's going to be, or you guys are saying yes, he's in a better situation. I agree with you based off of the arguments that you said. We're going to take under 26 for Ryan Preece this year.
If he doesn't finish better, I think Brad Keselowski, in an honest moment, would say he didn't meet expectations.
Yeah. Well, it's a good opportunity for Ryan, and good to see him that get into a new team there. And when there was a lot of questions on where the SHR driver's going to go, all of them landing on their feet was good.
And then lastly, SVG in the 88 car for Trackhouse.
I mean, I think the expectation is he's in there because they think he can win a race, and that's probably true.
Does he win more than one race?
No. I don't think so. How many road course races are there?
Is it 6?
5 or 6? I think others are getting better. He's still, in my opinion, the best. I think the gap between him and the field will lessen slightly. I think the field learns and they find ways to get better. He's with a new team. I don't know that really matters much. I think he's going to get speed out of whatever car he drives. So my expectation is the same. I think he wins a race. I don't think multiple. It's very possible. It's absolutely very possible. Let's talk about more about. I think everyone across the board would have the same opinion. He's going to win a race, therefore he'll get himself in the playoffs.
I just want to
for
know
that race win.
Real quick, what's happening quicker? The pace at which the rest of the field is catching up to his ability. The rest of the field is getting better at road course racing, catching up to his ability to road course race, or is he getting more comfortable in a cup car, which is
Field's getting better.
Yeah. So the gap is not getting wider. It's getting smaller.
I believe it will get smaller. I don't see him. Oh, I'm really comfortable with the next year. I know how to make speed out of it now. The guy can make unbelievable speed. He made unbelievable speed his very first time. There wasn't that much left on the table. So generally speaking, you would bet on the field to learn from that. Well, how's he making that speed? All right, well, let me try this, because that's what I see him doing. I think the gap tightens up. Therefore, him going out and dominating a road course race
Is less likely.
time after time and time again. But I still think he does do it. The question for me is what are we going to expect out of the 88 on ovals?
Mid-pack car?
So if you're going to say mid-pack, you're saying 18th?
Anywhere from 18th to 22nd?
I mean, that's where Suarez was at last year. Is he okay? I love this game.
Here we go.
Who runs better on ovals then, if that's the case? SVG or Suarez?
Oh, it's got to be Suarez.
Okay, then.
Yeah, I guess when you put it that way, you realize that the top 16 drivers is a really competitive field.
Absolutely.
And that 18 through 22 is still fairly competitive. Like, there's only a handful of guys behind those drivers.
I think, this is where the tables now flip, where SVG has more to gain on the ovals than the field. You got me? Because he's going to get more track time. So I think the expectations should be lower on the ovals, but I think he did a phenomenal job at the Clash. I mean, you didn't hear from him much other than when TV was giving him praise, which was 100% deserved, because he ran in the top 10, 12 all day. Got a great finish. He ran really well. He is an exceptional talent that will adapt. So I'm going to give my prediction that SVG runs 23rd to 28th on ovals to start the season. And I'm just saying as a average running position. He could finish better than that. There's going to be wrecks. He'll get better finish. Average 23rd to 28th. And by the end of the year, that moves 18th to 22nd, which is a significant jump.
Yeah. Yeah, if you finish this year running 18 to 22nd and you make a bit of progress next year, all of a sudden you're a legitimate playoff threat contender.
Yeah. He already is, right? Because he's going to have a handful of races that we talked about that he's going to be the favorite. I just think that he's got tons of room to improve on ovals, and he's going to.
Right. I just mean
because I've seen it in Xfinity.
If by the end of this year he's running in the 18 range at ovals, that next year, if he improves on that, he's no longer just a guy who they're throwing in there to win a road course race, because now if he can compete a little better than 18 at the ovals, then he's in the picture.
Yeah. Man.
Okay, so last prediction here. Who wins the 500?
I can't say myself.
I mean, you can if you want to. If you want to call your shot to start the year, go for it.
Austin Cindric gets his second Daytona 500.
Ooh.
Okay. I was going to make this question easier for you and ask if we were going to see a repeat winner or like a perennial driver win it, or a new winner like we've seen the last few years.
Next Gen is a game of chance on super speedways more than any other professional sport in history. I just you can't argue the results of what we've seen in it, and so if you look at the drivers that find ways to be up front, I think to me Cindric would be the one that stands out as giving himself the most opportunities in Next Gen on super speedways.
Here's a better question. Do we have to change our plans on taping Monday because Jared has one of his routes to win?
We'll just do it without him.
Does one of Jared's drivers win?
There's already a, what's it called, a contingency plan? There's already a plan in place.
He always works on that.
I'll be here unless Denny wins.
All right. Well, we got some new stuff coming out. That's kind of a recap on the season. Of the new drivers. Hopefully we talked about your favorite driver, and now you are a little bit more informed of what to expect. We didn't bring up. We did leave out one. Ty Dillon replaces Hemrick driving the 10. I want to make sure we got to be fair to everyone and try to talk about him. So, Ty Dillon, he says this is his best opportunity yet. Expectations?
Run higher up in the field than the car has done in the past.
So you say he will. Where was him?
29th in points, Hemrick.
So I think that'll be tough.
Right. That's what
I think there's a lot of new teams, good team. I think that'll be tough. Just Colleague racing in general is going to have to show me more than what they did last year as far as speed. Now, I don't think it's, we're not throwing anyone under the bus, but that's just the facts, and that's what we're here to do, is give our opinion. And Colleague racing, show me more. That would have to be, if you want me to say that Ty Dillon will be better than 29th, they're going to need to find some speed.
Yep.
Out of their stuff.
This field's competitive.
Yeah.
As we just talked about, anywhere from 20 to 30th in the field is tight.
Yeah. And
competitive.
And by the way, that follows my expectations, like for Allmendinger or whoever on ovals as well. Like I said, Allmendinger could go win a road course race. I think driver means more than equipment on road course races. So I put this with AJ as well. Like I think. Until they get more speed out of their cars, I think it's going to be a struggle for all of them until they get to turning right. So, but listen, teams don't like to just sit on their hands in the off season. They go to work, and I guarantee you, they aren't happy with the results, and they're going to find a way to be better. And can you? The key though is, can you get better than the other teams that are trying to get better and those other teams got lots and lots of resources. So, that's what makes this business real tough.
Dirty Mo Media is launching a new e-commerce merch line. I just checked out some of this merch on my way over here. Got a bunch of stuff from every show. You get your Dirty Mo Media merch. You can get Actions Detrimental merch.
I love the gavel on one of the T-shirts.
And so what's it, Rule
12.2-B exclamation point. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But, yeah, the guys at Dirty Mo Media, they did some great stuff with some new merch. So go check out it online. It's at Dirty Mo.
Shop.dirtymomedia.com.
Shop.dirtymomedia.com.
I think we need to get a red vest shirt up there next.
Oh, let's not do that.
Why not?
Just
the fans need it, Denny.
If the fans want it, why not?
Playing into this
some
too
money.
Much. It's just too much for me.
Are you afraid that he's going to sell more shirts?
Oh, I think it's a given.
That would be a good over-under. You get a Denny shirt up there and see which one sells more.
Another thing we are doing, if you're in Daytona, come see me, please. Maybe you're going to linger around after the Dale Jr. download. He's from what time?
3 to 4
3 to
p.m.
4:30. He's going to have an hour and a half.
It's on Thursday.
And then
by the
he's
way.
going to keep the stage warm, and then I'm going to come on right after, right?
So he's on from 3 to 4, and then you are coming on in that 4 to 4:30.
Yeah, so maybe I just crash his early.
Yes, it's going to be in the fan zone on Thursday. Dale, Jeff Gluck, Jordan Bianchi,
Ooh, star-studded lineup.
and Andrew Curlin, the biggest name. And then you're coming on afterwards. So hopefully the fans will linger.
What is Jared not joining me? He's my blankie.
If Jared
I'll
wants
be somewhere down in front.
if Jared wants to join, I don't think anyone's saying no to that.
Oh, I think we without a doubt have to have him on stage. Like, I know his job is to, take pictures and filter the out of them, but like, I want him on stage answering questions from the crowd.
All right, I'm going to let the folks know.
Jared, you better block your calendar off.
Great.
And I want the flyer updated.
with his photo.
Yes. All right, so it's going to be me and who?
You're on Sirius XM, people.
So Jeff and Jordan.
No.
No, not
No.
Jeff and Jordan.
From 4 to 4:30, it's a crossover. Sirius XM hosts are going to be on there.
All right. Well, I mean, you can grab my podcast on Sirius XM. So we're going to do a little joint with them. We're going to be on right after Dale Jr., so mark that down for Thursday. 3 o'clock to 4:30, you're basically hanging out with all of us in the infield in the fan zone on Thursday.
We got a review here from The List Mom.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Love the show. Insights on the previous week's race are awesome. My kid was curious when he saw you wearing a PSG jacket in the live interview at Bowman Gray. Are you a big soccer fan now?
I'm a big fan of their bomber jackets, or just their jackets. That's part of the Nike shipments that come in, and it's like, oh, a trench jacket. I'm in. That's actually one of my oldest jackets, though. So,
Well, it's Jordan Brand, isn't it? Jordan Brand is PSG.
yes,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So that's where I got that. So to answer your question, unfortunately, not. I couldn't name one player, but they got a great jacket. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the review there, Mom. And we'll see you guys after Daytona, after we crown another champ.
Hopefully delayed on Monday when we take.
Yeah. Hopefully I don't talk to y'all till like Tuesday.
That'd be nice.
That'd be cool. See ya.